If effort is the key to success, why do we evolve to be so lazy? We all have an autopilot in our head that is constantly trying to take the path of least resistance. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I am a guy who started a lead gen agency in 2024 and scaled it to $100,000 a month in just 12 months. The reason my agency scaled so quickly and operates with 85% profit margin is because I'm super lazy. I built a system that made my autopilot stop working against me and start working for me by turning the path to my success into the path of least resistance. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 biological traps that stop people from achieving their goals. For each trap, I'm going to show you the exact biological glitch causing it, and I'm going to show you the exact habits I use to break through them. Trap number 1, the biology veto. This trap is so common and so dangerous that most people never get out. You want to earn more money or lose weight. You pour your energy into achieving your goal, no matter what. But within days, you feel an almost physical resistance stopping you, and you wonder, why am I so lazy? Is it a moral failing? Did modern society make me soft? What you're experiencing is the biology veto, and it's the same thing that happens if you try to put your hand on a hot stove. Your brain is pumping the brakes to make sure you don't do something it thinks is going to hurt you. In this case, that something is a feedback void. In the wild, burning calories without a guaranteed reward inside wasted energy and risked starvation. So your brain learned to pump on the brakes when you work your butt off and don't see results immediately. Your brain learned to flood you with the stress hormone cortisol. It's screaming, please stop, we're going to run out of food and get eaten by a leopard. Obviously, this isn't a good adaptation for the modern world. You aren't going to starve yourself by sending cold emails. But unfortunately, technology is a lot faster than evolution, and you don't get a say in the matter. You can push through for a while, but your brain will always win. But here's the dirty little secret. Everyone is like this. Billionaires don't inherently possess more motivation and drive than everyone else. So if everyone's willpower is limited, why do some people achieve their goals while others quit? It's because your brain doesn't actually need success, it just needs feedback. Think about a slot machine. A lazy person can play slots for 12 hours straight. Why? Because the feedback is immediate and certain. When you pull the lever, you don't know what will happen, but you know there will be lights and sounds to grab your attention and tell you immediately whether you win or lose. Probably you'll lose, but you might win, and you're only half a second away from finding out. Your brain loves this, but in business, as in fitness, the goals you care about are always off in the distance. You send cold emails for hours and get nothing. Then you do the same thing tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Finally, you get your first client. You work with them for a week, you deliver, you invoice them, you follow up the invoice, and then maybe months after you started, the money finally hits your bank account. For 60 days, you're shouting into a feedback void and hearing nothing back. Your brain sees this as a waste of energy and pulls out the biology veto and forces you to stop. People who achieve their goals have a way around this. They stop tracking their goals and start tracking themselves. The method I like is called the input scoreboard. First, you define the lever to pull. Identify the single action you can take that has the biggest effect on your goal. For me, that was called outreach. Second, set a binary goal. Don't say I'll work more, set a number, for example 100 emails sent. And finally, the dopamine check. Keep a checkbox by your desk or hanging over your bed. Make sure it's as bright and attention grabbing as it can be, and check off a box every time you finish that action. Give yourself a prize every time you clear a certain number of boxes. Even better if you can make it random. One of my favorite restaurants is about an hour away from where I live. The food is amazing, but it's kind of expensive and I never make the time to go there. So I bought an advent calendar like the ones they sell at Christmas. I had my girlfriend put $50 in cash in one of the boxes without telling me, and I was only allowed to open one box for each day I met my input goals. And I knew every day that if I sent 100 emails, the prize I was waiting for might just be behind the next box. So you have your input scoreboard, you make a plan to hit your numbers, but when you wake up the next morning, you still don't do it. Why? Trap number 2, the willpower tax. This has nothing to do with how much discipline you have. No matter who you are, you pay the willpower tax. Essentially, you have 2 brains. When you sit down at night to make your plans for the new day or your New Year's resolutions, you're using what's called system 2 thinking. That's slow, methodical reasoning. I think of this as a pilot. The pilot is smart. The pilot knows exactly how the plane works and where it needs to go. So you make your brilliant plan and go to bed. And when you wake up in the morning, the pilot is asleep. You're now using system 1 thinking, fast, impulsive, automatic decision making that uses as little energy as possible. This is the autopilot. The autopilot only cares about one thing, the path of least resistance. Every time you ask the autopilot to do something difficult, you have to switch systems and be the pilot again, and that's when you pay the willpower tax. The more your plan requires the pilot to fly the plane, the steeper the tax, and usually the pilot makes plans that are too hard for the autopilot to follow. The path to success needs to be the path of least resistance. If you want to go to the gym, try putting your gym clothes on top of the toilet seat the night before before. Because when you wake up, the autopilot needs to pee, and the autopilot cannot use the bathroom without interacting with the gym clothes the pilot left out for them. When you make plans for the autopilot, you need to be incredibly specific. What time, what gym, how to get there, what to wear, what machines, how many reps. Studies have shown that just deciding what to do is a bigger willpower tax than doing the thing itself. But when you make specific plans that the autopilot can follow, well, you start achieving your goals on autopilot. This concept is exactly why my agency runs on automation. I realized that relying on my own willpower to write cold emails every day was not just taking up all of my time. It was a recipe for failure because the willpower tax was too high. So I use tools to automate the writing and sending. Now I wake up and there are replies in my inbox. It's almost like the leads come to me, and now I know I'm going to get to work because I know there's a person on the other end who is waiting for me. All that friction is gone and I'm able to just get to work. And actually, this philosophy is the foundation of the scaling system society. We realize that most entrepreneurs burn out because they're trying to brute force their way to success. That's why we hand you the autopilot blueprints, the exact automation flows and decision trees, so you can bypass the willpower tax completely. But more on that later. Trap number 3, signal loss anxiety. You have the input scoreboard. Your autopilot is following the pilot's instructions, but the gains aren't here yet. This is the most dangerous pitfall. How do you know your system is working? How do you know if your inputs are going to give you the output that you want? On the one hand, real results lag behind input. You have to wait and trust the system. On the other hand, doing the same thing over and over, expecting something to change, is the definition of insanity. How do you know if you're being patient or going insane? This is a lot like the biology veto. Your brain is constantly scanning for immediate cause and effect. If you shake a tree and no fruit falls out, your brain wants you to pivot because the humans who kept shaking died. So just like before, we need a better way to measure our system. The most helpful way I know how to think about this is almost a cliche in business, and that's as a pipeline. A completely shattered pipeline delivers 0 water. A perfect pipe with only one closed valve also delivers 0 water. If you measure the output, they look identical, but the fix is completely different. You won't know what's really going on unless you find where the leaks are. I have 2 rules when it comes to the bottlenecks in my business. First, there's always a bottleneck, but second, there can only be one bottleneck at a time. Even if everything is on fire, there is one problem that is further down the chain than all the others. Let me bring you back to my experience with writing cold emails. I sent my first 1,000 emails and I haven't got cash flow. Before I rewrite my sales pitch and change my offer, I sit down and make a flowchart of every single thing that happens before a sale, no matter how small. Step 1, your email lands in your leads inbox. Did your emails even land in the inbox? If not, your bottleneck is delivery. Your domain is getting flagged as spam. You need to check your technical setup and use a warm-up tool to build up your sender reputation. Step 2, how many people opened your email? You should typically expect about 40 to 50% of your emails to get opened, so compare the numbers. If you're averaging 20%, your bottleneck is the subject line. There's no point reworking your pitch when no one is even seeing it. Step 3, are you getting replies? If people are opening my emails but not replying, then I know I have a creative problem and need to fix my copy. Maybe my offer isn't strong enough, or maybe I'm talking too much about myself and not enough about what I can do for my clients. Step 4, are people booking calls? If not, your bottleneck is conversion. Are you sending them a calendar link too soon and scaring them off? Or maybe you aren't following up soon enough? The fix here is to change how you ask for a meeting, not the product you're selling. Step 5, are your customers paying? If your customers are making it all the way to a sales call with you and not closing the deal, the problem isn't your marketing, it's your sales. The marketing worked, the leads are qualified, but either your sales script or your pricing needs work. Notice how even if everything is broken, I don't replace my entire system all at once. I start with the very first step that's going to lead to the outcome that I want, in this case a sale, and I move forward until I hit a bottleneck. Now fast forward, the valve is fixed, money is flowing in, you hit $10,000 a month. You might think the dangers are behind you, but the last trap actually happens after you start seeing results, and it can make you start all over again from scratch. Trap number 4, productive procrastination. Once again, it all comes back to your brain. Your brain hates it when you chase after something you can't see, but it also hates it when you're too successful. In the wild, every successful strategy breaks sooner rather than later. You have to get bored and find a new berry bush before the one that's feeding you runs out. Evolution has hardwired us to seek novelty. In business, that drive turns into productive procrastination, spending hours designing a new logo, redesigning your website, lying awake at night wondering if your problems would all go away if you dropped everything and became a monk. You do this not because it will actually improve your business, but because it feels new. But in business, consistency is what makes you rich. Success is boring. Remember, there's just one bottleneck, so find it. Chances are the bottleneck in your business is something like follow up with 50 more people or update the training document. Productive procrastination feels like a project. Real solutions most often feel like chores. If the solution you're planning has you feeling like an inventor, you need to run a careful check to make sure that what you're doing is really the best way to reach your goals. We're going to run through the same process we used to solve trap number 3, but this time we're going to do it in reverse. Make a list of everything you could be working on right now and ask yourself, for everything on that list, how many steps away is this task from money hitting my bank account? Mailing an invoice, that's 1 step away. That is the most direct thing you can do to raise your revenue. Calling a lead, that's about 3 steps away from revenue. Posting social content to social media, 4 steps. Redesigning your logo, that's at least 10 steps away. If you cannot point to real data and say this is where my system is breaking, these things are your lowest priority. Building a business, like building any habit, is like building a factory. When the factory is finished, everything runs like clockwork. Goods roll off the line and the factory prints money. But it takes years to build the machines, calibrate the conveyor belts, and hire the staff. Most people watching this video will never finish the factory. The biology veto stops them at the start. The willpower tax stops them during the build, or the signal loss anxiety makes them quit before they make their first dollar. But you don't have to build it from scratch, because I've already built one. The Scaling System Society is the factory I used to make $1 million in my first year of business. We have a simple goal for our clients: sign your first B2B client in 60 days. And we are so confident in this system that if you don't reach this goal, we give you your money back. Don't fight millions of years of evolution on your own. Get the system that wins by default.